Lakshman, can you hear me? Kashmanta, can you hear me? If you guys can hear me, please type in S in the chat window. Prashant, Ravi. Good evening, everyone. Yesterday, we discussed about the basics of SAP HANA. What is in-memory strategy? What is in-memory computing? In-memory analytics? What is the purpose of SAP HANA? The product strategy of SAP HANA, like SAP HANA as a data mart, SAP HANA as a database layer to BW 7.3, okay? And what exactly a HANA appliance consists of? What are the different components that comes along with SAP HANA appliance? Okay. Today our class agenda is SAP HANA Studio. So SAP HANA Studio is very important. The reason is, whenever you are working in any SAP HANA project, that can be HANA as a data mart or HANA as a BW database layer to BW 7.4. As a HANA consultant, you're supposed to know how to use this tool in order to perform different types of modeling activities, data provisioning activities, for importing, exporting, for managing our information models and all. Well, a client is implementing a SAP HANA project. This is a HANA project. So in this HANA project, there are different team members like HANA developers, HANA modelers, HANA architects, HANA administrators, HANA business users. HANA business users. Now, these team members, they want to connect to SAP HANA in-memory database instance or SAP HANA IMCE in order to perform administration related activities, modeling related activities, development related activities, and business user related activities. So in order to connect to IMCE in any edition of SAP HANA appliance, there is a tool that comes along with SAP HANA appliance. The name of the tool is SAP HANA Studio. So what is this SAP HANA Studio? As a HANA consultant, what type of activities you will be performing using this SAP HANA Studio? So today's our class agenda is SAP HANA Studio. You are a consultant at a client site and you need to launch SAP HANA Studio for the first time. As a SAP HANA consultant working in a HANA project, as a modeler, as a data provisioning consultant, as an administrator, okay, you want to use this SAP HANA Studio for project activities. You need to add the customer's HANA instance to your Studio installation so that you can work on the server and create information models, delivery units, and any other administration activities as a administrator, okay, as a business user related activities for viewing the data and all. So in order to perform various types of activities in a project by connecting to HANA IMC or HANA in-memory database, SAP has given a tool. The name of the tool is SAP HANA Studio. So what exactly is SAP HANA Studio? The SAP HANA Studio is delivered in SAP HANA appliance and provides an environment for administration, modeling, development, and data provisioning. It can be installed on your client PC. So once you install this client tool on your laptop or desktop, then you can connect to HANA IMC or HANA in-memory database using this client tool in order to perform any one of these activities. So SAP HANA Studio is a Java-based tool. It's a Java-based application that runs on Eclipse platform. This is HANA welcome screen. SAP HANA Studio. This is welcome screen of SAP HANA Studio. This is SAP HANA Studio. This is a Java-based tool, Java-based application based on Eclipse platform. This is welcome screen of SAP HANA Studio. See, in the welcome screen of SAP HANA Studio, there are several perspectives in which this SAP HANA Studio can be launched. You can launch this SAP HANA Studio in administration perspective, in modeler perspective, in development perspective, in open lifecycle management perspective. There are different perspectives in which this SAP HANA Studio can be launched. Now the question is, what exactly a perspective? Well, SAP HANA Studio can be launched in different perspectives. So what exactly a perspective? When you start SAP HANA Studio for the first time, you can decide on several perspectives. Perspectives are predefined user layouts or views for several application use. Means a perspective is a predefined user interface to perform a specific activity. In the sense, in this project team, so we have HANA administrator. So HANA administrator wants to use administrator perspective of SAP HANA Studio so that HANA administrator can perform all admin related activities. So what is a perspective? A perspective is a predefined user interface to perform a specific activities. Now I am a HANA modeler. I want to launch this SAP HANA Studio in modeler perspective because my activity in this project, okay, are mainly concerned with data modeling part. So I need a predefined user interface which, okay, more for modeling purpose, for modeling related activities. So I am a HANA developer. So I require this SAP HANA Studio in development perspective. Now I am a HANA business user. Just I need, okay, I have to view the data from different information models, okay. So I need some business user activities to be performed. So I can use this SAP HANA Studio in modeler perspective or other perspectives which are more related to business user activities. Like this, in SAP HANA Studio, there are several perspectives in which this SAP HANA Studio can be launched. Now, in which perspective you want to launch. You can decide in the welcome screen of SAP HANA Studio. Initially, in which perspective you want to launch this SAP HANA Studio. Well, I want to launch in administration perspective. I want to launch in modeler perspective. I want to launch in development perspective. I am a business user. I want to launch in lifecycle management perspective. So what is a perspective? A perspective is a predefined user interface for a specific application use. The application can be for modeling, the application use can be for administration, for development, like this. Now, if you want to switch from one perspective to another perspective, every time you don't have to go to welcome screen of SAP HANA Studio. No. Suppose if you want to switch from one perspective to another perspective, every time to switch from one perspective to another perspective, you don't have to open welcome screen of SAP HANA Studio. There are two ways how we can switch from one perspective to another perspective. So whatever the perspectives that are opened recently, on right hand side corner, upper corner, now you can see whatever the perspectives that are open, you can see recently open perspectives. Now if you want to switch from one perspective to another perspective, from here also you can switch. See. Okay. Second option is go to the window, so go to the window, open perspective. If you want to reset the perspective, you can reset the perspective by default perspective also. Okay. Suppose I launch this SAP HANA Studio in admin perspective as the administrator. On the left hand side of this SAP HANA Studio, you can see navigator view. This is called navigator window or navigator view. See this part. This part is navigator view. So what exactly the navigator view or navigator pane? This is also known as navigator pane. So once you install this client tool, whenever you are launching this tool for the first time, in the navigator view, you don't find any system added here. So you don't find any system added here. Suppose I'm using a SQL Server Management Studio. I guess everyone is aware of SQL Server Management Studio. What is SQL Server Management Studio? It's one of the client tool provided by Microsoft to connect to SQL Server database engine for DBA activities, for development activities and all. So whenever I am launching this tool, I have to specify to which database server engine I want to connect and what are my credentials. At least I need to have one database credentials. See, now you can see this database server, SQL Server database engine is added here. So I can perform DBA activities, I can perform other activities. In the same way, once you launch this Java based application, SAP HANA Studio, at one point of time you can launch only one instance. See, one instance is already launched. If you are launching one more instance, see, could not be launched the product because the associated workspace is already opened in another Eclipse application. So at one point of time you can launch only one session. So in the navigator view, initially you don't find any system added here. What is system here? HANA in-memory database instance or HANA IMC. And we already installed HANA IMC or we purchased this appliance. Now, in this navigator view, you can add one HANA instance or more than one HANA database instance. Suppose you want to add development, QA, production, you can add. Okay, you can add 4 or 5. There are no limitations. You can add one database instance or more than one database instance to one client tool. So it doesn't mean for one client tool you can add only one database instance. Well, I want to add 3 database instances, one for development, QA, production, and I want to add them in appropriate folders. Here we have 2 options. You can directly add the systems like this, right click, add the system. Otherwise, if you want to add the system in an appropriate folder, you can create an appropriate folder, then add the system under this folder. It's up to you. You can add directly or you can add under appropriate folders. Suppose I want to add under a folder. Okay, now select your folder, add the system. So whenever we are adding a HANA IMC to our navigator view of SAP HANA Studio, as a molder or as a administrator, you're supposed to know some of the parameters. Like whenever you are launching a SQL Server Management Studio, we're supposed to know what is instance name of SQL Server. Okay, we need to have one database user, okay, one DB user. In the same way, here also we're supposed to know the host name. If you don't know what is the host name, you can get this information from concerned people in your project team. So this is a host name, for example, and instance number '05. Then if you want, you can use the description. Select the language, in which language you want to work. Here we can select different languages. Well, I want to select United States English. Click on next. Once you click on next, you have to provide one valid database user to add the system to SAP HANA Studio. So whenever the service provider is sending the details, so the service provider will send a text file with all these instructions. What is the username, password for HANA DB and all. Using that username, password, you can add the system to your SAP HANA Studio, or the system will already add it to your sandbox. Click on next. Once you click on next, this is a host name I provided, and I did not provide the port number. It's automatically picking up the port number. How the system is picking the port number, how it's determining the port number based on instance number. If you go back, one step back, here I did not give any port number, but I have given the instance number. From instance number, how to derive the port number? SAP HANA port number. HANA port number is always this is a HANA port number 3XX15. What is XX? 2 digits your instance number. So in our case, the instance number is 05. So what is the port number? 30515. finish. So once you finish, now you can see, so I am in the admin console. Now you can see the HANA database instance or HANA IMC is successfully added to our navigator view. This is called navigator view. So this is complete, this one is navigator view or navigator pane. Now we successfully added the HANA IMC to our Studio, SAP HANA Studio. Where, in which area of SAP HANA Studio? In navigator view. Like this, you can create one more folder. You can add one more system. So there are no limitations. For one HANA IMC, for one SAP HANA Studio client tool, you can add more than one HANA system also. Yes, Noor?
Yes, I have a question. The system name that you added, is it already activated by the admin?
Yes, sir. Just the minimum basic understanding, right? What I said, already the admin is installed or already we purchased the appliance from the vendor, right? Yesterday you attended your session, right? Yesterday. So we can purchase the appliance from any certified vendor. So once we purchase the appliance from any certified vendor, so they will give us all the details, okay? Otherwise, once you install, so the admin people, okay, they know what are the instance number they have given, the host name they have given while installing the system. So from the admin people also you can get this information. So in fact, in the project, okay, when in the project kickoff meeting only they will give, okay, before starting, once our blueprints are ready, once we are starting the development work, they will provide all these things. Yes, Ravi?
Yeah, hi Jason. You said we can add more than one HANA system in that perspective. So what is the maximum number of instances we can
No, they did not give any maximum number. So they did not specify any maximum number.
Okay.
Yes, Lakshman.
So we can add all environment, dev, QA,
Yes,
staging, everything?
Everything in one, yes, one SAP HANA Studio. So you can add development, testing, production environment, sandbox environment to one SAP HANA Studio. So you can add your complete landscape to one SAP HANA Studio. So client tool will be only one. You can add a number of instances. Client tool will be only one. You can add a number of database instances to your SAP HANA Studio. That can be development environment, production environment, testing environment, or your sandbox or your staging. So whatever you want to add, you can add here. You can add more than one system. There are no limitations here. You can add a number of systems. But how many maximum? Okay, nowhere the SAP specified. So okay, you can add a number. So once we added the client tool, once we added the system to the client tool, so once I completed the question, please, okay, yes Prashant, what is your doubt? Yeah, please, okay, still your hands are raised. It's very confusing for me because whenever I'm teaching, I will be keep looking at this panel. So whoever raised the hand, I will be unmuting you guys, right? So once I complete your question, please, okay. Yes, Prashant, is there any question, Prashant? Okay, so place the cursor on the top of this if you want to know all the details about this IMC. Place the cursor and click on this administration panel. This is called admin panel. So who will be using this admin panel? HANA administrators, not HANA developers, not HANA molders. Okay, so this administration panel will be used by HANA administrators to smooth up and running of this database. okay, to find out so many other information about the database, for troubleshooting, for configuration. Now in this HANA administration console, see, we have different types of tabs. In overview tab, just you will find all the overview about this IMC, like what is the version, what is the build version. See, 1.0, HANA 1.0, this is support pack 6. Now you can go to File, Help, About SAP HANA Studio. Here also you can find the version of SAP HANA Studio, support pack 6. Then IMC can be installed on only one operating system. The operating system is SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. SAP HANA supports only one operating system. Please guys, whoever is not having the questions, please down your hands. It's very confusing for me. Noor, Lakshman, Prashant, if you guys don't have any questions, please don't raise your hand. Otherwise, if someone is having very genuine question, so I cannot figure it out. Noor, can you hear me? Please down your hand, please. Lakshman, can you please down your hand? Prashant, can you please down your hand if you don't have any questions?
This is raised, right?
Sorry?
This is raised right now. So it is down now, right?
No, it's not. It's not down. Still I can see. See here? The hands.
Now?
Yeah, it's down now.
Okay.
Okay, in the overview tab, so you can see the complete overview of this HANA IMC. The overview, like general information. These are general information. These are database used memory, resident memory, CPU usage, data volume size, log volume size. What is this data volume? What is this log volume? We'll talk in HANA architecture. Next tab is landscape. What is landscape? In HANA IMC, in-memory computing engine, there are different services. What are the important services in HANA IMC? Landscape means the important services. Compiler server, daemon, index server, name server, preprocessor, okay, statistics server, access engine. There are different services here. Among these services, the important server which stores the complete data and process the data is index server. This is a very important one. So in IMC, there are different services. Among these services, the important service is index server, which holds the complete data in the main memory. These are main service which holds the data, which executes the data. So apart from this, there are other services as well, like name server. Name server will store only the landscape information. The statistics server will store only the statistics on the database, which is very useful for the HANA administrators. Like access engine. Access engine will store some information about the XML messaging and all. Like this, in the landscape, you will find the complete services, the port number, and the host name. See, what is the host name? The host name is HANA SP5. See, HANA SP5. And this service is running on this port. This service is running on this port. This service is running on this port. And memory, used memory, peak usage, all other details which are required for the administrators. Data distribution means the data will be spread across different available cores. That is the data distribution. Okay, alerts. What is alerts is? In the alerts, these alerts are very important for HANA DBS. Now, if you have any alerts with high priority, alerts with medium priority, alerts with low priority, all the alerts will be listed here. So that by using these alerts, the DBS can take appropriate actions, okay, for smooth up and running of this database. Now, if you look at this, as of now, there is one medium alert. The last data backup is 8 days old. This will increase the downtime in the recovery situation. It's one of the medium priority, and other 3 are low priorities. So these alerts are very important for HANA administrators to take timely action for smooth up and running of this database. Now, in the performance, now it's very confusing me because everyone is raising your hand. So who wants a really who is asking the question? I cannot understand. As of now, there are 4 students who raised the hand. Okay, so what is the performance? In the performance tab, this is very important for administrators. In fact, the complete administration console, or this is called administration panel, is for administrators, not for HANA developers, HANA modelers, HANA business users. But I'm giving an information, okay, in overview, and in coming classes also. So I will be explaining some of these admin part, so that will be very useful. Okay, having that information is very, very useful. In the performance, so it will show you all the connections, threads for corresponding services. If you look at these services, for maximum number of connections, we have for index server. Which service? Index server. Because among all these services, the important server is index server, which holds the data and which processes the data. So whenever we are talking about architecture of SAP HANA, architecture of SAP HANA means architecture of SAP HANA IMC means architecture of index server, because this is the index server which holds the data and which processes the data. So that is the reason in services, the important service is SAP HANA index server, because the index server, the one which holds the data and which processes the data. Now you can see the maximum connections are for index server. Now volumes. See, among these services, which services stores the data? The index server will store the maximum amount of data, because this is the server, this is a service which actually holds the data in IMC and processes the data. Apart from this index server, name server also stores the data, but it's on very low volume, because name server stores only the landscape information. Statistic server, it also stores the data, but the data volume is very, very low, because it stores only some important statistics of HANA database, the statistics which is very important for DBS and Access Engine. So whatever the services which stores the data, in case of power outage, in case of system reboot, here I am not going in detail today because it's very big concept. First of all, we have to understand HANA IMCE, okay, different levels. Then we will come back to the persistence layer. So without understanding the complete this part, HANA architecture, we cannot go to the persistence layer. So whatever the services which hold the data in IMCE, because in IMCE the complete data resides in the main memory. In case of power outage, in case of system reboot, the complete data can be erased from main memory. So the persistence layer will insert the data from main memory to disk storage. Again, in disk storage, we have two types of volumes, data volume and log volume. So what is data volume, what is log volume, we'll see in the architecture. See, whatever the service which holds the data. For every service, see, we have data volume and log volume. In case of power outage, in case of system reboot, the index server will read the data from here. Again, it will make the data available in IMC, because in SAP HANA, the primary persistence of the data is main memory, not hard drive. So only the purpose of storing the data on disk storage, on regular intervals, on regular save points, only in case of power outage, in case of any other interruption or system reboot, the complete data will be erased from the main memory. So the persistence layer can read the data from disk storage to main memory so that it can make the data available for the reporting as well as for calculations. Now, if you look at this, the name server data volume is stored on this path. These are disk storage, log volume, index server. You can see that among all this, the index server size is very high because these servers will store very low volume of data, only the landscape information, only the statistics, only XML services information, whereas the index server holds the maximum amount of data. Configuration. In the configuration, there are so many INI files. What are these INI files? The INI file stands for initialization files. If you look at this HANA database, in HANA appliance, the HANA IMC, HANA database will connect to so many external tools like Business Object Data Services for ETL based loading, SLT for real-time replication, BW 7.3 with support pack 5 as underlying database, SAP Business Objects, SAP BOBI for reporting purpose, DXC direct extractor connection for data provisioning by using generic extractor, business content extractor of embedded BW of ECC to load the data. Like this, it will HANA can connect to R integration with SAP HANA. R is an open source programming language. So many external tools will connect to SAP HANA. Some of the tools will require some configurations to be set in HANA database. Suppose if I am using DXC, for DXC I need some access engine configurations to be set in the initialization files. So the DBS will come to this configuration tab. Suppose I am using DXC. For DXC, in this corresponding initialization files, whatever the parameters they require, they will set the parameters here. Then they will save this one. So what is the configuration is, in order to work with the external tool, if HANA database required any parameters to be set in the initialization files, if there are any configurations are required in the initialization files, so that DBS, the HANA administrators, will come to this configuration tab to make that setting in order to work with that specific external tool or with the specific technology. Next one is system information. System information is very, very important for DBS. Why the system information is very, very important for DBS? From system information, the DBS can find out all the information about HANA database. Example. Now, as a DBA, I want to find out since last 1 month how many backups are failed. So there is all this is a table, a system table. Failed backups. Double click on the failed backup. See, these many times the backup is failed. And here you will find the administrator can find the reason also. It will give the complete reason also why the backup is failed. See. Well, I want to find out what are the expensive statements generated by different users. Expensive statement analysis. Record logs. As of now, we don't have any record logs. Component memory usage. Which component using which okay, row-based tables, other engines, engine components, how much memory, used memory in size, persistence layer, caches, complete your backup catalog. So this is successful, all the complete successful backups. Connections, so show all the list of connections. Like this, from the system information, there are set of tables which provides all the information about HANA database. Like for any administrator, this information is very important to find out, okay, expensive statements or failed backups, okay, how many sessions are created, what are the table logs, how many table logs we have, show all the list of transactions. So this information is very important for HANA DBS. So completely I want to see how much memory used by column-based tables, how much memory used by row-based tables. See? Used memory by tables. In one table it will show you complete. HANA supports row-based tables as well as column-based tables. As long as we are storing the data in column-based tables, the data is highly compressible. So like this system information is a tab which consists of various tables which will give the complete information about the HANA database, which is required for the DBS, not for administrator, sorry, not for developers, not for modelers. Now, in the next file, we have diagnosis files in the next tab. What exactly are diagnosis files? In the diagnosis files, it will generate trace diagnosis files, log files and all. So these diagnosis files are very important for administrators, for troubleshooting, for debugging, okay. So they can go through these diagnosis files before start troubleshooting the problem. They will get an idea. Trace configuration. What is trace configuration is, in SAP HANA Studio, sorry, in SAP HANA IMC, for administrative purpose, it supports various types of traces. For example, SQL trace. What is the purpose of SQL trace? If the SQL trace is active, the database calls to a specified database or application users are traced. Complete database calls for a specific database and the user or application users are traced. The trace data is stored in corresponding SQL trace files here. Suppose if you want to keep track of all these things, you can activate the SQL trace. Then performance trace. If the performance trace is running, the system performance is traced. The trace data is saved in the corresponding file here. Like this expensive statement trace. So in coming classes, I will show you how to activate some of these traces. And by activating these traces, the administrator can keep track of some of the important information about the database to take appropriately and timely actions, like what are the statements which are expensive statements, performance trace, end-to-end traces, user-specific trace, configuration trace. So as of now, some of these traces are not active, say inactive. But if you want to use this trace, just we can activate. So like this, in SAP HANA IMC, there are various types of traces are available. You can activate those traces in order to keep track of corresponding information about the database, like SQL trace, performance trace, end-to-end trace, user-specific trace, okay, expensive statement trace, for to take the timely actions and for smooth up and running of this database. So once we added the HANA database, IMC to our navigation panel or navigation view. So if you want to just find out all the information about SAP HANA IMC, place the cursor here, click on, this is called administration console. So this is administration console. In overview tab, you will find all the general information and what are the different alerts we have, what is the disk usage, log volume, trace volume, okay, data volume, log volume for your all services, complete used memory and all. In the landscape, you will find what are the different services which are running in this IMC. These are the different services. Among these services, index server is very important because which holds and executes the data. Then alerts. What are the alerts that are as of now we have in IMC, those alerts will be listed here. We have alerts with 3 priorities, alerts with high priority, medium priority and low priority. Performance. And what are the different services, to which service, how many connections, threads, calling, caller, volumes. Among these services, 4 services will store the data, like index server, which stores the complete data, and a statistics server, name server, and access engine. For every server, which services which holds the data, you can see a data volume and log volume. So why we are storing the data using persistence layer to the disk storage in data volume and log volume is SAP HANA is a in-memory database. In case of power outage, the complete data from RAM can be erased because RAM is a volatile. It's only a flash memory. In configuration, you'll find so many INA files. INA stands for initialization files. So if any configuration settings are required for a tool or to technology to work with SAP HANA, the administrators will come to this configuration tab. They will do corresponding configuration. In some of the incoming classes, I will show you what type of configurations can be done here. It's too early to explain here. So system information. In system information, it will list so many tables. Okay, all these tables information is very important for DBS. Okay, for smooth up and running of this database, like table logs, size of the tables on disk, sessions, session context. Okay, log waiting history, failed backups, connections, database information. It's complete basic information about the database. This is a HANA hostname, start time, this is a version 1.0 with support pack 6, the database name HDB, HANA database. Like this. Then diagnosis files. Here we have trace files and log files. So these files are very important. So you can, the administrator can view the complete file here. For diagnosis the problem, for troubleshooting the problem, and configuration, trace configurations. HANA IMC supports various types of traces like SQL trace, performance trace, expensive statement trace, end-to-end trace, user-specific trace. So if the administrator required a specific trace to be activated to keep track of all expensive statements, to keep track of performance, to keep track of SQL, then as per the requirement, okay, of our database administration, we can activate some of these traces so that we can get all this information in corresponding file to perform our administrative activities. Any questions, folks? Yes, Lakshman?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so you have shown somewhere 3xx15, right? Which is defining as a port, right?
Yes. Yes.
So 15 is a constant or it is variable?
It's a
like
constant.
I have seen that 105, 120102 like that.
No, that is for other services.
Okay.
We are talking about complete the host port number.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. For every service we have a specific port number. For complete HANA database instance we have one port number. That port number is 3xx15 is a constant.
Constant. Okay.
Now, once we added this one, first expand this IMC. Once you expand this IMC, here you will find 5 folders. How many folders you will find? 5 folders. HANA 1.0 with support pack 3. Support pack 3. Once you expand this HANA IMC, you'll find only 2 folders. See, once you expand, you'll find only 2 folders, catalog and content. From support pack 3, they have given this secure from support pack 4. But in support pack, up to support pack 3, so once we expand this HANA IMC, you'll find only 2 folders. What are those 2 folders? Catalog and content. Catalog and content. So what is catalog? What exactly the components of this catalog? Let me expand the catalog. Once you expand the catalog, so you'll find all the database schemas here. So these are database schemas. HANA database schemas. What is a HANA database schema? HANA database schema is an object which consists of HANA database objects, other HANA database objects. What type of objects? Tables. Again, tables can be row-based table and column-based tables. Synonyms, triggers, views, sequence, procedure, index, functions, and column views. So, what exactly a HANA database schema consists of? HANA database schema consists of database objects. So, if you want to create a table, or if you want to import a table, or if you want to create a template table using SAP Business Object Data Services, in any one of these options, you can import or you can create a table under HANA database schema only. Under HANA database schema only. Now, once we install the IMC, there are some default schemas comes along with the installation. Those schemas are system schemas. How to identify what are those system schemas? If you come all the way to the down, any schemas starts with _sys. See, these are the system schemas. These are the system schemas. So we look into each and every system schema. What is the purpose of these system schemas? Apart from these system schemas, we can create n number of custom defined schemas. Custom defined schemas for your data mart requirements. Okay, when you install SAP BW on top of this SAP HANA, by default it will create one schema for BW. Like this, apart from these system schemas, the customer can create n number of custom defined schemas. There are no limitations in the number. We don't have any limitations, only these many schemas we can create. You can create a number of schemas as per your requirements, as per your memory requirements. And under these schemas only you can create the tables. Now, how to create the schema? In order to create the schema, we don't have any graphical user interface environment. Graphical user interface environment in the sense, suppose I want to create a table here. See, this is a graphical user interface environment. So in order to create the schema, we don't have any GUI based environment. To create the schema, just we have to execute a small SQL command. Now, if you place the cursor on top of this IMC, on top there are 3 icons. This is admin console, this is monitor. Okay, in the monitor it will show you okay how many alerts we have. Okay, then the third and important one is SQL console. This is a SQL editor. In the SQL editor, you can execute the scripts, SQL scripts. Okay, you can execute the SQL commands. And in order to create a HANA database schema, we don't have any graphical user interface environment. Just we had to create using a SQL statement. The SQL statement is very simple. Create schema, schema name. So after completing this select statement, on right hand side we have execute select statement. click on execute select statement. So you can see the statistics here. This SQL statement is executed, okay, within these many seconds. Now, once the select statement has been successfully executed, now you can see successfully executed means create schema statement is successfully executed. Once this statement is successfully executed, corresponding schema is created in the catalog. Now under this schema, you can import the tables, okay, you can create the tables. Well, I want to import, okay, I want to import the data from a flat file. And I did not create any table. Most of the applications supports creation of the default table if the table does not exist in SAP HANA before loading the data itself. So I selected the file. It's a CSV file. The header row exists. One just simple I'm showing. Don't worry. Anyways, we are going to discuss flat file method of loading the data. So these are see, as of now, the table does not exist. The table does not exist, but using this file import wizard application, I am creating the table. So in this schema, see, you have to select the schema. See, in which schema you want to create. Now, in SAP HANA, we can create in this schema, we can create row-based table and column-based table. What type of table you want to create? Column-based table. And what is your primary key? So in the flat file, the order number is mapped with the order number of, it's creating a table now before importing the data from the flat file. Because before importing the data, the table is not ready. Now I created the table, I uploaded the data using the flat file. But before creating the table, make sure you have to create your schema ready. If you want to create any type of database object, that can be a table, that can be a trigger, make sure you need to have corresponding schema ready, database schema. So once you created the schema, my friends, then under the schema, you can create the tables, you can import the tables, then you can use your data provisioning method, okay, to load the data to these tables. Yes, Lakshman?
Yeah, so, is there any thumb rule or a basic rule that, okay, we want to create the column-based table or we want to create the row-based table? Is there any concept behind that?
There is no concept. Okay, 99.9% of the times we'll use column-based tables only, because as long as we are storing the data in column-based tables, that is highly optimized for the read operations and highly compressible. In what scenarios we'll be using, okay, row-based tables is, suppose I am storing some system data that is which is not required for reportings, and if I want to create a table without primary key in SAP HANA, so as long as you are using column-based tables, you cannot create a column-based table without primary key. In very few specific scenarios only we are going for column-based tables, row-based tables. So apart from all the scenarios, we will be using column-based tables only. But it's too early to explain in which scenarios we will use the column-based tables, in which scenarios, okay, because this is only SAP HANA Studio. But anyways, we are going to cover this concept in coming classes also.
Okay.
So when to use row-based table, when to use column-based table, we will cover. That's a separate topic altogether. Okay, now once we created the tables, once we loaded the data into these tables, when the client is using HANA as a data mart, once the data is loaded into catalog, so what exactly a catalog consists of? Catalog consists of schemas, database schemas, DB schemas. In these DB schemas, tables resides. Okay. Now in content, we'll create packages. In content, we'll create packages. So what is a package? What exactly a package consists of? Now in this content, so you can create a package. So what is a package? Package is a folder.